There we go. All right, so counter range theory, or also known as CRT, I would say it's rebranded by Romeo. It's existed for some time. I've known about it for some time, but I've just not been trading it. Now everybody on Twitter seems to be trading it and riding the train as always. So it's essentially Turtle Soup. It's fractal. It works with candles. Uh, to make sure this works is you kind of just have to apply it to the correct bias. You can't be just trading this against the bias or it's not going to work. And then there's only other many things that I'm going to talk about which lead to this working. So this candle right here is the CRT candle. Why? Because we have other candles building up inside of it, not taking the high or low. So now it's building up a range right here, as you can see. This is what you want to see with CRT candle. Many candles being built up in one bigger one. This is like a house and everything inside of it. So once we see one side of the CRT getting swept, we can predominantly expect the next side also getting swept. Romeo took this from ICT, I believe, but what this is essentially is whenever we have range being built up within a candle, all of this here being built up is like equal highs or relatively equal highs. Just like how Day says it. He likes to see trend and liquidity being built up like this. So liquidity like this is easily swept. It's low resistance liquidity. And also you can see that there's no SMT within here, which means that it's going to be low resistance liquidity as well. So now let's just move on to the next part of what happens next. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to paste it over here. Okay. And now let's discuss. So right here, so this can happen on both pairs, okay? So let's talk about if this is NQ and ES. We can see that both NQ and ES take this candle right here on the 15-minute or the 30-minute. Doesn't really matter. Or you can trade this on hourly. It's fractal again. Then on the lower time frame, I'll just use it here. On the lower time frame, right around here, on the next candle open, you want to wait for what you want to wait for right here is an SMT right here. SMT on the lower time frame. And this would be your lower time frame market structure shift. So on the lower time frame, you would get a market structure shift right here. The real market structure shift break. One will take the high, and then the other one will fail as it taps into a fair value gap or whatever. Then you take your first, and you would take your first partial at 50% of the range. So as it comes down here, first partial, and then second partial down here. So that's what it should look like. That's pretty much the model. So sometimes on certain occasions, here, what you might see is, let's say this is, let's delete this, because now you already know. Let's say this is NQ right here, NQ NASDAQ, and then this right here would be ES. The SMT might not form on this candle or the next, but sometimes with this CRT candle, you might see an SMT form like this, and then for it to reverse immediately right after, because this is a pretty big lower time frame SMT. So on the lower time frame, this is pretty massive. Let me just put it like this. Then it will go for the low as well. like so. You can look for an SMD with a candle that takes out the range high. Sometimes they both take it, and then you look on a lower time frame for the SMT. That's one of the ways of doing it. Um, it's something most people just won't tell you about. And then there's another one where if, let's say, this takes the high, you can look for a hidden SMT. Let's say this one also takes the high. But the candle ends like this. There's a hidden SMT, and you want to be shorting this one towards the 50% and the low. Wait, let me just do this. So you can also, not only can you do this with candles, you can also do this with sessions as well. So right now, let me show you what I mean by sessions. So let's say we have Q1. Right, and quarterly fairy. So Q1's function is usually to be in consolidation, to do nothing. What Romeo teaches is once the low gets swept, you target 50% of the range of Q1, and then you target the 100% range of Q1. So you take your first bar trick here, right there, 50% of this, the high is high and the low is low, 50%. So this would look like something like this. Or maybe I can just do this. Right. No, I'll put it up here for you guys to see. Would be green. Wick would be higher. This is how this is me visualizing the candle with the sessions or quarterly fairy. So this will be Asia, right? And then this will be London Open right here. So London comes down, keeps the low, creates a long wick, and reverses, just like so. It goes above its open, which is also true open. So anything below London's open would be discount because it's the true Q2 open. And then it doesn't really matter because the rest is not part of the CRT strategy. That's one way you can visualize it with CRT sessions. And also this works great in Forex. I'm not going to talk about how great it works, but look for it in Forex during the London session. I'm not going to talk about it too much. That's for only the premium users. But yeah, so it's pretty much fractal. Um, let's see right here. Now, I'm gonna explain this. So there's many ways that this could happen, right? So let's say one of the ways is this. All right, we got a giant SMT. On the lower time frame, when the new candle opens, you want to look for an internal SMT on the lower time frame, right here with the fair value gap. Or you can just simply trade this right here, because there's an SMT with this high and this high. So you can, as soon as the new candle opens wicks higher, which is what I also teach some people to do, is when it opens wicks higher, creates a wick, you short, put your stop loss here, because there's an SMT. So it's protected, and then you can take it to the low, 50%, and then the low. Danny, do we have any more questions, or should I keep going? We wait. I don't understand what he means. No. So yeah, I get what he means. Wafix, since you're a premium user, you kind of have access to that. You can watch the video in the model section. It talks about this during London. But uh, once it sweeps once, yeah, I have data backing up how much it works. When the London model takes one side, let's say of Asia, when it takes the Asia low, then you go in the lower time frame and you look for an SMT of the market structure shift. Or well, this is technically like, if we think about this, all these candles right here is like Asia. The high is high, and high is low of Asia. Once one side gets swept, London is very likely to sweep the other side, especially in the forex pairs. Do we have any more questions? Because I can keep talking about this, right? So one thing we could do is I'm gonna flip this now upside down so it makes a little bit more sense. Um, so now I'll talk about if we swept the CRT low. This is just a different variant of how it can look like. All right, let's say we sweep this right here. Also move this. And remember, I said in the beginning that you want to be doing this with the same directional bias. You don't want to be trading against the directional bias with CRT, or it's not going to work, even if there's an SMT, most of the times. Or this next part is pretty crucial. Oops. All right, so you want to have a fair value gap right here. You want to have a fair value gap, a bullish fair value gap. Just bring this back up. So why do we need one? I don't trade PDR race, but why do we need one? Because PDR race mixed with SMT and directional bias works like magic. That's one of the reasons why. When you're doing your CRT, make sure that there's a fair value gap. Sorry, supporting your idea, so it can snap price back down pretty much. I don't know if I'm saying too much by now, but yeah, make sure there's a fair value gap here, and this fair value gap in this particular case is bullish. This would be a black candle. Sorry, here we go, black candle. Boom, into the fair value gap, and then I'll draw it out this time, you guys. Time I will draw it out. And then here to get swept. I'm gonna ask a question. Danny, make sure you tell me some of their answers, okay? Let's see who's gonna spot it. Right. I want you guys to tell me what went wrong, and then why did it take 3 candles for this pair? I know it's 3 candles, but this could have been an extra hour on top for it to reach this high. And even then at that, there's a likeliness that it doesn't reach it. So why does this happen right here? It still reaches the 50%, it would still work. You can take a partial right here, obviously. But you tell me why it doesn't work. And then you tell me in the comments what they're saying. If there's any good answers even. It's the last example I'm doing. CRT. I can keep going on about this. Proper answer? No? Alright, is that coming from my students, mostly? Yeah, alright. Seems like I've taught them right. Yes, so you also take out the low, which leads to a stronger CSD. This one takes the low, which leads to a weaker CSD. And I'm sure you guys by now have noticed that the CSD candle and the strength behind it is pretty important. But yeah, that's why it fails right here. There's a lower time frame SMT. So I may just draw these right here. This is what it looks like. Low, and then it expands. Yeah. And then right here. Takes the low one more time. Yep, that's what it looks like. A lot more retracements. It's weaker. I mean, I can keep going on about this, but I don't want to say too much. Makes sense. So make sure this is with directional bias. And then you look for the lower time from SMT. Just gonna write them down right here on the side. Super narrowed down. It's not like everybody overcomplicating this concept. But yeah, usually when it's this strong anyway, there won't be this many deep retracements at all, actually. That's something I shouldn't be saying, but the retracements wouldn't be as large as the retracements that would be here. And then you can even measure it with the fib. See, this one digs a lot deeper than 0.5. This one just shows his hand. But yeah, I'm not gonna say too much about that. I feel like I've already said too much. But yeah, I think that's it for the CRT class. Yeah, that's it. You can end the recording now if you didn't.